first of all, to introduce myself, I'm Fiona Turner. I'm the Executive Director at the College of Law in Victoria, and I'm an advocate of lifelong learning, and my passion is around helping individuals and organisations to achieve their career and their development goals through education. And one of the great things about this role is the opportunity to talk to people like yourself. And I congratulate anybody who proactively attends one of these sessions, because it just demonstrates that you're really sort of wanting to explore and take ownership of your career and what it looks like after university. So congratulations to you on that. And I'm really proud at the college in Victoria to lead such a dedicated team of people who are so invested in helping all of the students to transition into the profession. And today we're fortunate to be joined by Joe Abraham, who's one of our lecturers, and also Yen Law, who is one of our college ambassadors. So Joe, I'll just hand over to you to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Fiona. So, like Fiona mentioned, I'm one of the lecturers at the college. Before this, I practiced extensively in refugee and immigration law, so working predominantly with judicial review matters in the court, so from the Federal Circuit Court all the way up to the High Court. And I also am really passionate about making sure that community and legal go hand in hand together. So I sit on a number of boards that work with various communities to make sure that there's that good transition there as well.
Fantastic, thanks, Joe. And Ian, shall we hand over to you to introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks, Fiona. So I'm Yen, and I'm a recent College of Law graduate. I completed an honours degree at Victoria University this year, as well as completing my PLT part-time whilst working as a paralegal at Tenants Victoria and at CE Family Law. So I have a background in those areas, but after my experience studying at the college, I have discovered that I might have interest in other areas of law, more so than before.
Fantastic,
Thanks,
thank you.
Fiona.
Thanks, Ian. So what is practical legal training? Well, it's the bridge between the academic knowledge that you'll learn at university and the practical skills that you'll need to practice as a graduate lawyer when you complete your PLT. Not everybody realises that practical legal training is actually a postgraduate qualification. It's a graduate diploma in legal practice, and as such it's regulated both by TEXA and the Victorian Legal Admissions Board. And it really does give you the skills, the practical skills that you need to be able to take that next step into your legal career. And many of you will already be doing some work in legal firms, and that's absolutely great because you've already started to develop the skills. But what you'll do is sort of really start to fine tune and harness those as you progress through your practical legal training. So I mentioned before that the course is regulated by the Victorian Legal Admissions Board. And what this means is that there are certain criteria, if you like, that all PLT providers have to adhere to. So it means regardless of which PLT provider you choose, we all must adhere to the competency standards. So sometimes we get feedback to say, I covered this subject in university, it would have been good if we'd have covered X, or I didn't really find Y very interesting. And the reason that we cover those things in the practical legal training course is because we have to, because they're part of the competency standards. And as universities start to become more practically focused in their application of their degrees, you will start to find that if you go on and do practical training relevant to a particular profession, that there is always going to be an element of crossover. But the practical legal training really does focus around those skills, and you'll learn more and hear more about those from Joe and Yen as we progress through this presentation. So the other thing that's critical about the practical legal training course, regardless of which PLT provider you go with, is you must demonstrate work experience. We're going to talk more about work experience later, but the regulators need to see evidence of 75 days work experience in some form or another. So what do you need to become admitted as a lawyer in the profession in Victoria? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to complete a law degree, which is what you guys are already undertaking at the moment. And once you've completed your law degree, then you can start your practical legal training. Now, what not everybody realises here is you don't actually have to have fully completed your law degree before you start your practical legal training. If you've completed all of your previously 11 subjects and you just have a couple of elective subjects left, you can actually apply to VLAB through their website to request early entry onto a PLT. And if you have that permission from VLAB, then you can start your practical legal training a little bit early. And we do find that quite a few people do this. The benefit of it is that it enables you to escalate that time period between completing your law degree and being admitted into the profession. But it is worth noting that you really have to consider here what other things are happening in your life. If you've got a job, for instance, you've got to consider, can you manage juggling your university work, your practical legal training work, and the extracurricular things that you're involved in. So really think about that if it's something you're considering. And then once you've completed your practical legal training course, then you apply to be what we call admitted into the profession. And this is done through the Victorian Legal Admissions Board website. And we'll talk a little bit more about admission as we progress through this presentation. So what's unique about the College of Law's PLT? Well, we're really proud that our course has been designed around you. We know that you're busy. We know that many of you are juggling many different commitments, both to do with your study, to do with your family. Some of you, as I said before, have got jobs, extracurricular activities. So our course has been designed to enable you to balance the demands of the PLT alongside these other things that you might have going on without compromising on the experience. And the way we do that is predominantly through three things. You can decide when. So our courses are not capped. They're offered every single month. We offer both full-time and part-time courses. And if you're eligible, i.e. you've finished your law degree or you've got admission, you've got permission from VLAB to do early entry, and you've got your funds in place, then you're eligible to start one of our courses. So you decide where, and by this we mean, do you want to do it 100% online? Or do you want to do one of our blended courses? Now, our blended courses are offered with the Skills Week the first 5 days, and Joe's going to talk more about this shortly, as a face-to-face experience. And we're going to be offering some of those, COVID permitting, in Melbourne CBD, but also we've talked to Brodie about there's the opportunity that we could set one of those up in Bendigo if there's enough people who are interested in that. And Brodie's going to reach out afterwards and just test the appetite for that, which is fantastic. So we offer courses during the day, and we've also, from November, we're launching evening courses. So the key thing to remember about the day and the evening is, again, it only relates to the first 5 days, because the remainder of your course is studied virtually at your own pace. So the daytime courses are Monday to Friday. They run from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. each consecutive day. And the evening courses are Tuesday and Thursday evenings, 3 hours an evening over 6 weeks. And you'll do the Skills Week. Well, it's not a week, but the lawyer's skills portion of the evening course runs concurrently with you studying the coursework, if you like. And again, Joe will talk more about coursework and things shortly. So by giving you the flexibility to decide these things, it really helps you to manage your PLT around the other things that are going on in your life. And you can decide the pace. So we offer a full-time course and a part-time course. This is regardless of whether you do it face-to-face, evening, daytime. The full-time course is 15 weeks in duration, and the part-time course is 30 weeks in duration. So it's a really quick way of enabling you to achieve your ultimate goal, which is to apply for admission into the profession. The full-time course is one that we would recommend if you're not working as well. There is a lot of work to do in a shorter period of time in a full-time course. So if you are considering a full-time course, I would really consider you to ask you to think about what else you've got going on. And Jo will talk a little bit more about the pacing of the submissions and things that you have to do when she talks shortly. Okay, so one of the great things I think about the PLT that the College of Law offers is that it starts to equip you with the skills of the future. So it's really important as professionals that we're developing ourselves holistically. And by this, what I mean is we're not just focusing on the technical development that we need to be able to specialize in a particular area of law. So if, for instance, you want to focus on family law, you wouldn't just do training in family law and the recent developments that have happened in that area of the legal profession. Instead, what you really need to be thinking about is, what skills do I need as an individual to really help me excel in this area? So family law, you would need lots of emotional intelligence, you would need empathy, real listening skills. And our PLT takes the top 10 skills of the future, which we believe all individuals will need, and really starts to develop and harness those skills as you progress through the PLT. So I'd really sort of recommend that you really think about this as you're choosing who your PLT provider is, because it's really important that we equip ourselves to be ready for any change that's going to come. We don't know what the legal profession is going to be like in 5 years or 10 years time, but what we do know is that if we equip ourselves with the skills to be able to be agile and transition to change, then we're giving ourselves the best opportunity to progress in the future, regardless of what life throws at us, like COVID. So the College of Law's practical legal training is separated into 3 parts. We've got coursework, we've got work experience, and we've got continuing professional education. And all of the lecturers who deliver our PLT program are, like Jo, qualified lawyers. They understand the journey that you're aspiring to take, and they have a wealth of knowledge that they share with you throughout the course, and their shared experiences really help to bring your learning to life. So I'm going to hand over to Jo now, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the coursework and what that looks like. So Jo, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Fiona. Yes, so basically what we start off with a PLT is, the first week of the course is known as Skills Week, and that's basically when you get to meet your lecturer, who's essentially your main point of contact throughout your PLT, as well as meet the rest of your peers in your respective cohorts. So the first 5 days, for daytime courses, like Fiona mentioned, we've got a 9 to 5 every day, where you get to do different courses, and then it's 3 hours per night, 2 evenings per week over 6 weeks for the evening courses. And that's really if you choose the only face-to-face component that you have. Obviously, if you would like more of a blended course, we, COVID permitting, would like to cater to that too, but hopefully down the track that's something we can talk about further. So during the course of the first week, you basically undertake a variety of skills-based workshops that cover interviewing, negotiation, legal writing and drafting. You've got 2 full days of advocacy where you essentially learn the whole gamut of crafting case theory. You learn how to make submissions on your feet, you learn how to prep witnesses, and really it's a very practical number of exercises that you get to take within those 2 days. And all of these sessions throughout Skills Week are taught by lecturers who have backgrounds in those specific areas of law, and a lot of them are solicitors and barristers who are still currently in practice as well. So you're really getting up-to-date, amazing information. And you get the benefit of learning from those who've got a wide range of experiences as well. So the fact that it's delivered, via Zoom works for some people. We've definitely had some students say that they prefer having the face-to-face contact, but hopefully in the near future we're able to offer that again. But both are really good options, because in legal practice at the moment we're moving away from having solely face-to-face practice opportunities, we're moving to sort of a quasi in-person / online environment due to COVID. And for a lot of areas of law, this is actually a really good thing, because it's sort of ramping up the efficiency. We're able to get more done in a shorter period of time. We're saving some trees because documents don't need to be filed in hard copy anymore. We can do them electronically. So a lot of courts are doing hearings online as well. So even when offices are back, I think you would be hard pressed to find areas where everyone is going to want to be in the office all the time again. So I think we're moving to definitely having a more flexible way of working in the legal industry. So having this experience, I think will place you in good stead to actually go into practice and have that sort of dual ability to practice in person, but also be able to do it online as well. And we'll just move on to the next slide. So the coursework, the second week onwards, you get the coursework. Sorry, Fiona, if I could just get you to go back to the previous slide. So like Fiona mentioned, the full-time coursework PLT is 15 weeks and the part-time is 30 weeks. You've got 5 compulsory subjects and 2 elective subjects, and we'll move on to the next slide. That shows you what the compulsories and the electives are. So really there's something to cater for everyone. It's really self-paced study. So like Fiona mentioned, the full-time course, it's a lot more intensive. You've got roughly 2 tasks due each week, whereas in the part-time course, you've got 1 to 2 tasks due every couple of weeks. So it fits flexibly around your life. Many students utilize the part-time option so they can continue working, or if you've got caring responsibilities, or if you've got children at home, this is a really good option for you as well. Really the courses of the college are meant to provide you with the fit that works best for your individual and unique life circumstances. So basically you can get this done as quickly as you would like, or as spaced out as you would like. And we also use a system called Canvas as our learning management system. It covers everything you need to get through the PLT course. It gives you resources, practice papers, additional readings if you're so inclined, interactive exercises, and all of your work and your tasks are submitted through Canvas as well. So moving on to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about the tasks that we do throughout the PLT course. So the tasks that you do at the college are really there to simulate what you'd come up against in real life legal practice, because that's what the PLT is all about. It really allows you to have a go and learn really in a safe and supportive environment, so that when you're faced with a similar situation in practice, it won't be the first time that you've done that particular activity. So you complete and you submit all the tasks for each subject through Canvas. And as I mentioned, because it is a safe space, making mistakes is absolutely fine. You're not expected to do everything perfectly the first time. And if there's something that your lecturer thinks that you might benefit from doing again, they'll give you some pointers and get you to just have another go at it. And then, you know, if there's no sort of cap or time limit on how many times you need to do something to get it right. We just want to make sure that you've got the skills and you finesse those skills, so that when you do go out into practice, you've got all of those ready to go. And use those resources plus any research, because I think that's a key skill for lawyers across the board, to be able to source answers for questions. And for each of the tasks that you provide and that you've done, lecturers will then provide feedback for you as well, so you know exactly whether you're on the right track, or if there's something else that you need to do differently. And I think now would be a really good time to sort of get Yen to jump in and share her experience of what her college life was like.
Yeah, well, thanks, Jo. So I studied the part-time course while working full-time as paralegal. I was working with the Tenants Victoria, and I found that the course really complemented the work I was doing. I was working with doing a lot of policy research, but also assisting the VCAT duty lawyer draft documents, as well as liaise with clients. So the coursework was very practical. So what I was doing during PLT, I found I could transfer or apply to real life work during the day outside of the course. And but aside from that, when I was completing tasks and that weren't they were quite new to me, that I hadn't really seen or worked on before, I found that the resources were readily available and easy to access online. and that made it really convenient and kind of made it very easy kind of to complete the tasks. I was lucky also that other paralegals in my team were concurrently completing PLT with the college, so I found that we could talk about it, or talk about our tasks, what we were working on, and kind of bounce ideas off each other as well, support each other through the process. So that gave it an element of fun. So in general, I found the coursework was well paced, with part-time study and full-time work. But even when I found myself, once or twice falling behind my tasks when I was super swamped at work, in those situations, I just reached out to my lecturer, or the course lecturer at the time, and let them know that I might be a bit late with a task submission, and they were very supportive, and as long as I caught up with the tasks when I had extra time, then I could continue on and complete the coursework. So it was a very practical and insightful experience. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Yan. And like Yan mentioned, really, we understand that life gets in the way sometimes, that things pop out of the blue and you really have no control over them. So each of the lecturers on staff are really supportive and really understanding. So if you do feel like you need some extra support, please just reach out to any of the lecturers and your head lecturer, particularly in your course, and just let us know if you do need any additional support. So now moving on to our oral assessments, and this is basically the way in which your knowledge of a particular practice area is tested at the end of each unit. So even though it's called an assessment, it's really a conversation between you and your lecturer, or another oral assessor if your lecturer is not the one taking you for that particular assessment. And it's done via a web-based conferencing software, which is a little bit like Zoom. And the next slide, we've got a bit of an overview of what that looks like. But really, oral conversations are a way of testing understanding of the subject, and it really simulates conversations and discussions you would have in practice with a supervisor at work to make sure you're on the right track and you've got a good grasp of the basics. So we really want to make sure that you have all of that basic broad brush strokes understanding of what each practice area is about before you go and head off into practice. I personally really enjoy this part of the PLG experience because for me, I'm able to get to know students on a slightly more intimate level, understand sort of what they're doing in life. A lot of times I find that I learn things from students as well, because students are working in a particular practice area. They've got a really niche understanding of that particular area of law. So for me, it's a great experience and great exercise as a lecturer as well, because I also then get to learn what students really enjoyed about the course, or understand which parts or aspects of it they perhaps didn't quite like very much. And resoundingly, I think while most students come into the PLT sort of being really apprehensive or worried about how the oral assessments or oral conversations are going to go, by the end of the first one, the feedback is normally something along the lines of, oh, that wasn't so bad. I thought it was going to be much worse than that. So really, it's not as scary as it sounds, and they're also all open books. So really, you've got nothing to fear. It's just about making sure that you understood the key concepts that we've taught throughout the core units, and just really placing you in the best position to be in practice once you're admitted. That's all for me. I'll hand back over to Fiona.
Thanks, Joe. And yeah, we might just bring you in just to share your experiences of the oral assessment conversations.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Fiona. I really resonate with many points that Joe made about the oral assessments, and it's really nice to hear from the other side what the experience is for the assessors themselves, because I found that I was very, very nervous for my very first oral assessment, but found that it did have a very conversational tone, and I had plenty of time to prepare for it and plenty of notice. So as the tasks were being completed, basically I'll just receive a notification saying that the online assessment bookings were open, and then just jump onto the system and book in a time which suits, which is usually during the week 9 to 5. And yeah, I found this quite flexible and helpful as I could just log in and see what time would suit me and my work schedule. So I found that I would usually book it in during lunchtime, as the assessments would be like 45 to 60 minutes. And that was ample time for me to be able to sit down, relax, prepare, and complete the assessment. But yes, as I was saying, the first assessment I had, I was extremely nervous, prepared a lot of notes, study notes, but I found that the assessment, the first one and the subsequent assessments all followed a general structure. So once you've got that sort of done the first one, kind of know what to expect with the rest. So it would just start off with probably mostly reflections on the subject, as well as going into a review and discussion of the tasks completed, and usually ending with a questions about knowledge, subject expertise, or general questions to do with ethics as well. So yeah, and I really enjoyed it because each assessor came with their own kind of style, and they would they would be experts in the area, and give you feedback as the assessment went along, which felt more like a conversation more than anything. And at the end, it was a great experience. I really enjoyed the last few assessments after getting over the initial nerves, and really gave a sense of achievement as well.
Thanks very
Thanks, Fiona.
much, Yen, and thanks, Joe. And just to add to the information that has just been provided, we have recently introduced evening assessment slots as well, so between 5 and 9 p.m. and we're finding, unsurprisingly, that they're very popular. But that's certainly one way which we're helping people to balance the demands that they have on life. So we've talked about the coursework, and Joe and Yen have given you some really good detail around what the coursework's like for at the College of Law. The next thing to talk about is work experience. So you need to demonstrate that you've completed 75 days work experience, of which 60 days can be completed before you start your practical legal training course. It can be completed within 2 years of starting your practical legal training course. So I would really recommend that anybody who has the opportunity now to get work experience is starting to document that work experience. And we have a great resource on our website, and I'm going to ask Joe if she'll just share the link to that in the chat function. It's the Work Experience Guide. I'd recommend that you download, have a look at this. It has lots of questions answered. Work experience is one of those areas where individuals have a lot of questions and specific to their particular scenario. So we also have a team in the student services team who can answer any specific work experience questions that you might have. And so I would really recommend that you have a look at the workbook that we provide, that you ask the questions, and then you start to document any of your work experience now, because that will save you so much time when you come to prove that you've completed the 75 days when you start your work experience. So once you've started your practical legal training, if you have completed 60 days prior and you can find work experience yourself, then you'll need to complete the remaining 15 days during your PLT. But we know that some people finding those additional 15 days can be challenging. And so what we've created at the college is a 6-week program called the Clinical Experience Module. We shorten this to the CEM course. And this is an online program of study. It's completed once you've finished your practical legal training course, and it simulates work experience through a series of tasks that you're asked to complete. So if this is something that would help you to complete your 75 days, then it's something that we've provided there and is available to you. It is at an additional cost to the practical legal training course. We do find that 80% of our students can find the 75 days themselves. So the cost of their PLT is just the circa 9,600, and we'll talk about fees shortly. Now, particularly since COVID has hit, some people are challenged to find any work experience days at all. So in response to that, we've created another work experience alternative course, which is called our In Practice component, the IPC course. This is an 8-week online program of study, and the great thing about this course is it includes 3 sessions with a mentor, and all of our mentors are practicing lawyers. And this period of study enables you to undertake a number of tasks, a bit like the CEM, but a bit more than that, because it needs to demonstrate a bit more work experience. And it'll simulate lots of different activities that you would do if you were undertaking work experience in practice. Now, one of the benefits of COVID is that we've started to work online, and the benefit of that to your work experience is that we now accept remote supervision as evidence that you've completed work experience. So there's no longer the need for both you and your supervisor to be together in the office completing your work experience. But again, I would recommend that you look at the guide that we've got, and it'll give you lots more information and detail around that. So moving on to the final stage of your practical legal training, which is what we call the continuing professional education part of it. Now, as practicing lawyers, everybody is required throughout their career to maintain their professional competence. And you do this through demonstrating that you've attended the equivalent different courses and accumulated 10 CPD points a year. So as a graduate who's going through your practical legal training course, we have created a series of short courses and seminars which equate to 10 continuing professional education points, and this is a key part of the practical legal training course. This is all part of your PLT with the college. You don't pay anything extra, and you get access to these as soon as you start your PLT. So you don't have to wait to the end before you complete these. You can do them as you progress through your course. You must demonstrate when you get to the end that you've done them all, and they've all been marked off as complete. We've collaborated with the Centre for Legal Innovation, which is a think tank pro bono arm of the college, which focuses on legal tech and innovation, both nationally across Australia and internationally. They've got a fantastic website. There's lots of opportunity for you to be involved in the Centre for Legal Innovation. So if this is an area that particularly interests you, I'd recommend that you go and have a look at their website and see how you can get involved. There's a Young Legalpreneurs Lab, and I'll talk a little bit more about this shortly. But we've collaborated with them to create 5 of the seminars, 5 of the subjects around legal tech. So what this does is at the end of your practical legal training course, you'll get an additional certificate. It will be the Certificate of Legal Tech and Business Skills, and it gives employers an understanding of the additional skills that you've learned in addition to your PLT whilst you can be completing your PLT, which will really help you as you transition into the profession. So that's all full part of the course with the college. And Yen, I'm just going to bring you back in now just to share any experience you might have about work experience.
Oh, thanks, Fiona. Yeah, there's just so much there. It's amazing. But it's just starting with my work experience component. To complete the PLT, I actually started working at Tenants Victoria during lockdown, so that meant I worked remotely, and I 4 days a week, and I went into the office 1 day a week with a small team. But in order to be able to complete the 75 days requirement, I kept a remote supervision diary. And it was really, really easy to kind of just keep track. Like you just download the diary and the whole template's there. And I recorded the dates that I worked, which is usually just the dates and the tasks. And once 75 days is logged, then it just needs to be cross-checked by your supervisor and signed off. So during this time, I just kept open communication with my supervisor, so just keeping her up to date with where I was at, and so that made it a lot easier to keep up to date with the journal. And at the end of it, I submitted the remote supervision diary as well as There's a written reflection task component as well, and it was just easy while working in the role to be able to have that signed off. And in saying that, the practical work experience is very flexible and there's many ways of completing it. I just found this way was suitable for me, and it worked out to be quite easy, and my supervisor was very supportive. They also were very supportive in completing the continuing professional education component. So I was fortunate enough to be able to be submitted for different training and webinars whilst working as a paralegal, and that met the requirements of the CPD or CPE training that I needed to do as well. So yeah, it was really great, really fun, and easy to complete. But I'm looking at the certificate of legal tech and business skills and just finding that that's such a huge area now. And even while working at Tenants Victoria, I didn't complete this certificate, but there's a lot of things there that were definitely examples of work and different things coming up, like legal tech. And we were transitioning from paper-based work to online cloud systems, so everything here seems really relevant, and kind of wish I did the certificate as well, if I knew about it earlier. But yes, I think it's a great opportunity and resource. Thanks, Fiona.
Thanks, Yen. And the Certificate of Legal Tech and Business Skills is new, so it's recently been launched. So all of the PLT students who go through with the college will do this now. But yeah, it does provide the opportunity to build skills in areas that are really critical when you move into the profession. So just looking at fees, so the cost of our practical legal training is $9,640. We've held this this price for 2021, and as I said before, 80% of our students don't have to pay anything additional because they can source their 75 days work experience. There's a couple of ways that you can pay for this. So if you're able to get fee help. So if you're an Australian citizen or a student who holds a permanent humanitarian visa, then you can access the fee help. If you don't access the fee help and you have to pay for this yourself, then one of the things that I always suggest is make sure that you check when it's tax return time, whether or not you can offset the cost of this against some of the tax that you might be paying. So that's something to consider for the future. We also have a K Smith scholarship. So this covers the full cost of the PLT, and it's open to an Australian or New Zealand law graduate. And we do offer some bursary schemes. So these are means tested. There are limited positions available, but they're open to all PLT students to apply for. So there's a number of different ways there that you can fund the practical legal training. So what support do you get outside of your practical legal training if you come to the college? Well, we talked at the beginning about the admissions process. So the admissions process is something that's regulated by Victorian Legal Admissions Board. And normally, pre-COVID, you will probably know that you used to attend at the Supreme Court, and you would do your admission process. You would be moved by a current practicing lawyer, and it was a great opportunity for you to celebrate with family and friends the fantastic achievement that you've made. Unfortunately, with COVID, VLAB has moved to what they call admission on papers. So there's no longer the attendance at the Supreme Court, but I know that VLAB are keen to be able to get back to that at some point. So if you keep an eye on the VLAB website, you'll be able to see whether there's been any changes there. So in order to be admitted into the profession, you have to apply through VLAB website. So you can go on and create your account. And there are a number of different documents that you need to disclose. You need to work your way through their admissions process. Most people can do this by themselves without any challenges, but occasionally there are some people who need some additional support, particularly when having to evidence the fit and proper person test. And there may be things from your past that you need to declare, and you need some support and guidance around this. And if that's the case, then the college can provide as much or as little support and guidance as you might need. So we've got dedicated staff who can help you with that. We've also got a fantastic careers support team. So they're able to offer careers support in one of three ways, really. You can book a one-to-one careers coaching session with them, and they'll talk specifically to you about your individual circumstances and any challenges you might have, or specific areas that you're looking for guidance and improvement around. There's some small what we call boot camps available, so to smaller groups where the careers advisors will look at specific areas, interviewing skills, resume writing, and really help to develop yourself as a small group. You'll pick up some tips and tricks along there. Those two things are open to current PLT students only. As prospective PLT students, so that's anybody who's in a university undertaking a law degree, and to our current PLT students, we also deliver a series of career-based webinars, and these are usually offered monthly. They cover a whole range of topics. They often include panel interviews with experts from the profession. If you go to the events tab on our website, you can see the list of these and you can register to attend. They're all free, and as I said, they're open to you now. So I'd recommend that you go and have a look at those. We have, Joe talked about our resources. We have what we call practice papers. This is either or an online or hard copy resource that covers all of the different areas of law that we will introduce you to in the PLT, including all of the elective subjects, and it gives you tips, how-to guides, lots of practical ways to assist you when you're dealing with different things in those particular areas of law. And we get a lot of feedback from practicing lawyers who did their PLT a number of years ago about how they've still got their practice papers on the shelf, and they regularly take them down just to flick through and find some advice and guidance around a particular thing that they are about to undertake. So these are great takeaway resources. You'll use them throughout your PLT and then you can take them away afterwards. We also will offer a series of events for our graduates, which you'll be able to attend. These will be networking events, career development, updates in specific areas of law, so they'll all be open to you. Something that won't even be considering at the moment is the opportunity to later on do postgraduate study in specific areas of law. Now, you're only undertaking your initial law degree, so you're not really going to be thinking about this. But because the college is a provider of both PLT and postgraduate study, what that means is we've built credit options into all of the different courses that we have. So if you undertake the practical legal training course with us, it will give you credit towards future study down the line. So it's just something to consider, it's something to bank. Which is just available to all practical legal training students. And I talked already about the Centre for Legal Innovation. So this is something that's an opportunity for you to be involved if you're interested in legal tech, innovation in the legal industry. This is a great network for you to be involved in. It can help you with placement opportunities to really help to build your legal network. So they're all of some of the ways in which you'll get value add and support as a student if you do the practical legal training with the college. So you might have more questions following this presentation, which I'm sure you will, and we've got a dedicated team in Sydney who can help answer those questions. So Ellie Townsend loves having conversations with our prospective students, so please feel free to get in contact with Ellie. We've got lots of information on our website. There's a student guide, which I'm going to ask Joe to pop the link to in the chat. And this gives lots of information about our PLT. It'll cover what we've discussed tonight, but also have some additional information. So please do have a look at that. So that concludes the presentation for the evening. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and if I can. Oh, why isn't it letting me? Oh, it's up there. I need to do that legal tech course myself. So I'm going to stop sharing that now. And I know we don't have that many people with us, but we're happy to take any questions that we might have from anybody in the audience today.
Well, firstly, thank you for all the information. It was fantastic. It's definitely got me excited. I know I'm a year out, but every time I attend one of these things, I get more and more excited to take that next step. So thank you for that. It's been great, especially again hearing from a student perspective as well. I think it's always great when an institution is willing to put up the student voice and get that perspective as well. It's very commendable. So thank you. From my end, I'm sort of from my end, I'm sort of mainly focused on the placement and getting the work experience days counted. So I've been sort of jotting everything down in a College of Law, the form that you've got on your website for all the days. So I've been filling that out. And something that Yen mentioned about the supervision, the remote supervision. Obviously, through COVID, we've had to do, I think I've been working 1 day a week online instead of in the office. Is there any advice around maybe making sure the days that I've already done, working from home still count? It's not really changed all that much for me. I've been sort of doing Teams and meetings and all that sort of stuff. It's exactly like I'm in the office, except I'm just not physically there. Is there anything around that I might need to consider?
All of that will still be able to count. So you're doing the right thing, completing your diary, and the work experience guide that Joe shared will have some additional information around that. Yen, I don't know whether you wanted to add anything else there, having done the remote supervision yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Fiona. Sorry, my internet's just playing up to this evening, so I've switched off the camera to avoid more disruption. But yeah, it definitely does count, Brody. The most important thing is just to keep the communications with your supervisor. So just for them to approve the remote supervision journal and just fill it in as you go rather than right at the end, because it's really hard to remember the task you may have completed and which platform. So I think it just requires you to notate the day, the tasks, and what medium that you completed them, whether it was through MS Teams, email, or phone call. And if you just note those and get that signed off, that definitely does count.
Okay, yeah, I need to look into that journal, that journal part of it. I've sort of been doing the dates in sort of this in the College of Law form, but I haven't gone down the journal pathway. So I've got sort of a running commentary of what I've actually been doing whilst I've been working from home, so I can go back and fill that in.
And again, Brody, if you have specific questions, you can contact that number that we provided and on the slides, and this presentation will be shared afterwards. So and Ellie or one of the team will be able to answer any specific questions that you might have.
That's fine. Well, sounds great.
Okay. Cassie, Thomas, do you have anything that you wanted to ask today? No? All good? Okay, well, we'll probably leave it there then, Brody, and thanks very much for the opportunity to talk to you. And as I said, we'll share with you the presentation. Anybody who's registered will automatically get it sent to them. And what we'll do is we'll also share it separately with yourself, Brody, so that we can make sure it's shared amongst your members who haven't necessarily registered or been able to attend. And I always think it's really good if you don't leave it to your final year before you attend a PLT presentation, often because there are things that you can be doing as you've experienced and are already proactively putting in place to help with your PLT journey. So I would recommend sharing that with people throughout all years. And then if you just want to do a little bit of research amongst your members around face-to-face works, the skills week, and we can have a look at the feasibility of offering that in Bendigo. So the key things for us to understand would be, would you want it face-to-face, or prefer to do it virtually, and if you do want it face to face, which month would be the preferred option. And if you could kind of get some data around that, that helps us to schedule something.
Yeah, we'll look into that, Cassie and I, and we can get back to you on what the population is saying. I'm sorry there wasn't a whole lot of people showing up to this information session. We are in week 12, so I am taking that into consideration.
That's okay.
There's been some pretty large assignments, administrative law, case study assignments and things like that sort of going on at the moment. So people are pretty time strapped. So
that's okay.
I think that's why we'll let people know about the lecture once we get this up, and hopefully people can watch it, and we'll get that back to you as well, that information.
Great. Okay, and we hope to see some of you at the college
Yes.
doing your PLT with us.
Very good.
Fantastic.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, thanks everybody.
Beautiful.
Thanks everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Everyone, bye.
Bye.